All right, welcome back to Resilient Voices and Beyond. I'm so excited to have the guest that I have on today. I'm not going to disclose it just yet, but this is the homie. So, without further ado, thank you guys for tuning in to another episode. So excited for all that I've been able to accomplish with this platform and with the coffees and conversations and everything revolving this project. Truly did not know what it was going to take off to be or what have you, but as I started doing it, I started to fall in line with what I feel God has given me to do with this. So thank you guys for following along, supporting me, being guests, and supporting the people who have been guests. Truly could not do this without you guys. Um, if you happen to stumble across this podcast and you don't know who I am, my name is Michael D. Davis Thomas, aka MDDT Speaks. Yes, it is my initials. I spent a little bit over 11 years in the Michigan child welfare system, part of that being on the juvenile side and then switching over to the foster care side. I started advocating at age 15. From then, aged out of the system at 18, started working in many different facets, along with advocating nationally and statewide, doing juvenile corrections, to working in congregate care, doing supervising, program management, youth care work, you name it. So that's why I'm here today. I'm just not talking to you guys out of, the side of my neck. I have background and experience, and I'm taking that experience and knowledge and bringing it back twofold to be able to uplift individuals in their voices and have candid conversation. Without further ado, because this is not about me, I'm going to have my guest introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jayonna Yahsha. I also go by Jay. I am 22 years old. I've spent about 10 years in Michigan's foster care system, including kinship placements and foster homes. I'm a college student. I'm a very hard worker. I do direct care work at an adult foster care home where I work with people with mental health, mental health disabilities. And yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to have you on. So I'm gonna just get right into it because I'm pretty sure we're gonna have some good times and just laugh through this episode. But I've been trying to get you on for a minute. So my first question is, where did your journey begin in your experience in care?
Well, if you mean by that, when did I get placed into the system?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I got placed in the system when I was about 4, going on 5 years old. My mother and my biological father, I've never met my biological father, but my mother lost custody of us when I was about 4 years old, got placed with my grandmother, and she passed away when I was about 5. And then I got placed back into the system.
Okay. That's fair. That's fairly young. That's fairly young.
Yeah.
So I know your story from a different extent. You let me backtrack here and how I want to ask this question. What was the timeline from when you first entered into care until 18? What did that journey look like for yourself?
Okay. So I would say if I had to describe the journey, I would say it was definitely a roller coaster. I would describe my time in care almost like a movie, like you just never know what's next. So I guess once I got placed in the care, I got placed into a foster home. I don't remember timelines because, as I stated before, I was about 4 years old, but I got placed into that foster home, and then I got adopted by my great aunt And she had custody of us for about. I also have siblings. I'm the oldest of 4 siblings. I should have mentioned that. I have a younger sister and 2 younger brothers, and we experienced everything together. So after we got placed, after we stayed with her, well, we stayed with her for about 10 years, and then she got sick. And once she got sick, someone exposed the trauma that was happening in the home, different types of abuse, being starved, emotional and physical abuse, but I'm not gonna get into that part. Um, but yeah, we endured a lot, so that came out. And then I ended up being placed into foster homes up until I aged out at 18. I went to college, and when I would for breaks, I would go back to one of my foster homes. It was a really nice lady who helped take care of me, and I would go back to stay with her during breaks, but I had aged out technically into YVAC at 18 years old.
Okay, okay. It's a pretty extensive journey.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna ask you some questions, not too much in depth, because I want to respect, you not wanting to go too deep into some of these things, but on some things that I know that were pivotal, and hopefully I said that word right, about your experience. And feel free to answer them, feel free to tell me, no, I'm good, homie. Straight on that one. We can go to the next one. So, one thing I know from our experience, and just growing, and when I say this, guys, Jayonna has been a big influence in my recovery journey as I'm continuing to heal. And okay, whatever. In my recovery journey, I had, she is really like a sister to me, if not a sister to me. I have a select few people who have kind of integrated into my own kind of family, and she is definitely one of those individuals. So when I say this, like, we have conversations all the time. So one thing that throughout your journey, you've had an experience, being the older sibling. Do you mind sharing what that experience was like and
Yeah.
how that impacts your relationship with your siblings now?
Well, me and the older sibling, I think all the oldest will understand when I say it's like almost you're almost like assistant parent of the household. And I definitely felt that growing up because after we got adopted from our biological mother, we got adopted by a close family member. And after she adopted us, she would get sick often, and she would have to go to the emergency room, or even she just wasn't, her health just was never like up to par. So I would be, I learned to cook. I would say I learned life skills at a very young age, and I understood that life is real, and that I understood responsibility from a very young age. And as a grown woman now, I'm grateful for those experiences, but I feel that in a way it has definitely strained the relationship between me and my siblings. We've been hurt a lot, and we've experienced a lot of hurt, and we don't have a typical family relationship. We were we were removed from the home. We didn't live our entire childhood together, but a lot of the trauma and um painful side of foster care, I would say that especially from a younger age, we experienced together. And I don't know. I just learned responsibility at a young age. I learned how to use a debit card as the oldest. I learned how to, I would go grocery shopping for our house. I would cook for our house. When she would be sick, I would wake them up and get us ready for school. And I think now my siblings have expectations of me now, and I could be wrong, but this is I can only speak from my own experience. But I feel that, yeah, I'm gonna use I feel statements. I feel that it could cause my siblings to have certain unrealistic expectations of me that kind of strain our relationship. I don't think there's any love lost, but I think that certain boundaries and things need to be understood when it comes to my siblings. But do we love each other? Yes, we do, but we need to work on the respect part.
Definitely. Reason I mention that is because I've had a couple people on here, and it's a trend throughout people's foster care experience, and honestly, a cultural trend. When it comes to African American youth, that have younger siblings, because unfortunately, people working or substance use or whatever, siblings tend to get parentified, and ultimately that parentification takes away from that actual sibling relationship, because now you're looked at as this authority figure versus an equal or a peer, and it's hard to transcend even if you get put into a foster home or adopted, and you have a great relationship, with being a child. It's hard to transcend back into being a child or being back into that normal sibling relationship, which is similar to, in conversations we've had, seems to be, the trend with your relationship. Now, I have a different relationship with my siblings. I'm the youngest, and they're all the oldest, and none of them have entered into the system. As I have gotten information, a few of them have had CPS investigations, but none of them went into the system. And with my relationship, the strain is because of the lack of understanding. They endured abuse and escaped from it with their dads. We all have different dads, or just endured it and just went on to live life. By time I was in the place of understanding the abuse and everything, I was over it. And by grace, I ended up in the foster care system, so there's some resentment, which is weird and it's really hard to explain, but there's some resentment because my siblings felt in some way I had a disadvantage, and for me in my, I'm like, y'all got to escape. Y'all dads didn't, like, even though they wasn't really there, they didn't abandon y'all and what have you. So, like, it's always interesting to hear the other side, with other people who have different relationships and what have you. So that's my little ramble. My next question for you is, I know that you have endured a lot in your journey, to your young adult life now. It feel like we've lived a long time, but we're really still young. um, what has mental health and self-care look like versus when your earliest experience recognizing mental health and self-care to your experience now knowing it to a better extent?
I would definitely say my experiences of self-care have changed, which you described perfectly at the end. At first I viewed self-care as, well, I'm gonna get my nails done, get my hair done, or I might do this, get a facial, go to the spa. And although those are forms of self-care, which I think are valued, I've just learned that doesn't self-care does not have to be like It doesn't have to be something that has an instant reward for me. It doesn't have to involve instant gratification. Self-care could be me setting up myself for success in different ways. Like I've looked at self-care different now. Like I view it as taking care of my finances as self-care to make sure I'm straight, because if I don't do it, nobody else will. And I used to have this attitude like spend it, get it back, like money comes back and da 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 da. And although a part of me feels like YOLO still, I would say that I my self-care is like budgeting, being intentional about the time that I spend with myself. Like I'm chilling at home alone right now. Like what can I do to be setting myself up for success? Yeah, I still get my nails done. I still do my hair and I still take care of myself physically, but I've just learned that self-care, it just means so much more. Self-care some days is finishing my homework because I know tomorrow I gotta work. And although I could maybe do a little homework at work, like I know I might want to watch a movie tomorrow while I'm at work, so I'm gonna do it today. And that's self-care because it's taking care of myself. So I don't know. I feel like as I grow and change and become the woman that I'm trying to become, self-care may continue to look different. And I kind of just give myself what I need in the moment, trying to be more intentional about doing that.
Definitely. I respect that a lot. It's definitely when we set out, when we age out, it's definitely no set guide to what we should do and how we should do it to make sure that we good. So taking that journey to figure that out and what works for you takes us through, and not to knock anyone's self-care regimen, whether it be getting your hair done or going to but as you grow, you understand that you have to have different self-care routines that aren't so much surface level, aren't so much temporary, and that these self-care routines that you have are some things that help you invest later. So one of my self-care routines I used to do would be, what did I used to do? It involved like buying stuff. Yeah, I think it involved like buying stuff. I really was into dress shoes and stuff like that. So it'd be buying dress shoes, or just going to buy whatever, and that money is really temporary. The shoes are really temporary. I really got back. I used to work out a lot and I stopped for a period of time and then I got back into working out. And I realized like working out is one of the deepest, self-care routines that I have for myself, along with, reading my Bible, doing my devotionals, writing, and doing some critical thinking, because each one of those self-care routines challenges me, but also helps me evolve, so as I'm evolving, these self-care routines that I have will evolve with me. Buying stuff, I may not like the same stuff that I'm buying now at 25, at 30, or at 40. It's going to phase out, So some of these things that we do that can be considered some like surface level, I like to call them surface level self-care routines, they're not always going to be there. They're temporary. So it's always good to kind of find something that challenges you to dig a little bit deeper, and when you do that, it also helps you figure out if you're actually in a healed place, if you're actually in that journey of recovery, because when you dive a little bit deeper, if you get offended, then you're like, oh, I got some stuff I still need to work on. And if you like, oh, okay, yeah, this is making sense, you can see the growth that you have, endured and what have you. But that's my little time. I don't know if you had anything you wanted to add to that, but I wanted to open it up because you've been on this journey with college, transitioning into this adulting world, figuring out life for yourself after foster care, what relationships look like, what kind of lifestyle you want to live, and a lot of people are doing that. just now, and a lot of people are about to age out or, get involved in some of these different things. I know you've done some advocacy, you dove a little bit into that. You've done some speaking, you've done a little bit of mentoring, you're a social work student. Yeah, so you out here, So
I try.
if you don't mind sharing with the audience, how has life been and how are you enduring, and, being real about it, is it hard? Is it easy? Is it smooth? Is it rough?
Life is hard. Definitely did not sign up for this. I'd like a refund for like my time. Nah, but I don't know. Life is hard, but I think that um I'm just learning how to navigate it, honestly. Like I'm just learning how to roll with the punches at the moment. It's just wild. I was thinking about this earlier. It's just wild how when you're younger, you just say, when I'm older, I will never, or even now, you just say, I will never, da da da. And things happen, like it's just crazy how things happen. But I don't know. School has been a struggle for me because I'm studying social work, as you said, and I'm actually taking a psych class now. And we're learning about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And don't test me on this because I only got a B on the exam, but I'm pretty sure one of the foundations on his hierarchy of needs is stability, and it's talking about how like the main focus is like it's like the needs before you can focus on anything else. It's like this is what is a priority. So now I'm going through a situation right now where my stability is being tested, and it's scary because it's triggering me from foster care. It's triggering me of things I hadn't thought about in a while. And it just reminded me of Maslow's hierarchy of needs because while I'm dealing with this very challenging situation and trying to figure out, what's going to happen next and figuring out my next moves, I'm also studying about biology and the nucleus and cytoplasms. And it's just crazy because I don't care. It's like it's just really hard finding a balance being a student who is also a foster care alum and then dealing with life. Like I was literally telling my mentor, I just went through one of the hardest experiences I've ever been through in my life. And now I have to study and figure out, oh, the nucleus is the powerhouse of the cell. It's like, how am I supposed to focus on this when I don't even know where I'm going to live? Like, I don't even know what's going to happen next. I don't know, like family issues. I don't know if my brother's going to be okay. I don't even know, but I would say my faith in God definitely helps. Um, God is like an anchor in my life. He's the way that I'm handling this, honestly. Like if I didn't have God, I don't know what I would do. I would be losing my mind right now, but yeah, I don't know. This chapter of my life is just probably called figuring it out because that's what I'm doing. I'm just trying to set myself up for success, and I'm making mistakes and I'm learning from them, and yeah.
I mean, that's what we all need. That's what we all are doing.
Mhm.
There's no guide to life. Which is why I find it crazy when everybody, try to make these certain assumptions about how you're supposed to do this or do that. Whether it worked for that one person doesn't mean it may work for me. Which is why, I started correcting myself when, talk about success because success isn't linear, and I use the word thriving or finding a place of thriving more because when you're thriving, I look at thriving as finding a place of peace, security, and stability. That could be in whatever way you want it to look like, but having those three things, when you were talking about, and I'm gonna mess up his name, Maslow, hierarchy. I've heard of that, and the child welfare arena a lot, and I believe the specific piece you were talking about was like the safety needs, because the safety needs talk about personal security, employment, resources, health, and property, and I have to be honest, like I stumbled a lot. And when I talk on these, I hope you guys as an audience really grasp that, my struggle is not over. Even though I'm advocating, even though I'm doing all these things, that doesn't mean that I have complete security or autonomy over my own life. The actual realistic fact is that, I'm still at that place in my adulthood where one wrong move, I can lose it all. One wrong move, I can be homeless. One
Right.
wrong move, I could not have a vehicle, you know? And I don't know if we ever get out of that state, but I'm hopeful to believe that there is a place where you can find um, multiple pillars to put in your foundation. So it isn't just one wrong move. It has to be a couple wrong moves before the whole foundation fumbles. But unfortunately, in my 25 years of life right now, I only got one pillar, and that pillar is barely hanging on, and I fight each and every day to be able to sustain that pillar, and keep the concrete set in my foundation. And that's just a reality for most people, because there's multiple different factors, economic factors, equity, getting paid what you actually deserve, housing, having actual supports. And when I say having actual supports, having supports that you can depend on to have your back without a price tag, or an advantage attached to it, and I remember I talked about this before on here about, how the Jim Casey survey talks about, do you have someone you can call to borrow $500? Like I still, as a 23-year-old, I'm not about to call to borrow 20 or $500. I probably could get 25. Probably. But that depends on what time of the month, because the people I probably will call, like, man, I just put that in my gas tank, But you know, and that's just the reality. So I really appreciate you, Jay, kind of sharing that and opening that up, and I kind of, for the last bit of this, kind of want to open it up to that realistic part of our lives that we're going through right now, because it's not just a unique thing to us. It's like you said, your siblings, other people that we encounter that have foster care experience and stuff like that, and for some way form, people have gotten their mind, well, they 18 or they 21, they good, and that's so far from the truth. If you really don't have a community, and not just any kind of community, an active community in your life, because if you have a community that's non-active, you just is doomed to fail without a community. An active community that's attentive to supporting you, and it's not a one-way street. If you got a community that's supporting you, you should be there for your community as well, but not too many people have that. And I was talking on my coffee and conversation with a couple of different people from all over, and that's one of the main things that we brought up, is having a support, whether it be a mentor, a teacher, a staff member, whoever. Those seem to be the trend that help people be successful. So if those people never get that individual person, or meet that individual person, or get out of their own way, because we can be in our own way where we're still stuck in that survival mode, that default, where we're not open enough to be trusting to anybody, does that mean that they're never going to be successful or never be in a place of thriving? So I'm interested in your thoughts or, recap on some of this.
I definitely agree that coming from foster care, you need someone who will love you for free. Because I think that there's a lot of people who, I don't even know if I would call that love, but anybody could be around if it benefits them. And I think especially it's actually sad how it is, but people target people who they know don't have anything, and it's like they try to take you for, it's like, what else do you want? What else do you need? But I think having, personally, knowing that I definitely have a support system, and I know I have people who love me for free, and I definitely know that that is why I credit my successes, because I'm a spiritual person. I believe in God, I believe in Jesus, I believe that in the Bible, and there's a scripture that says that two is better than one, because when one falls, the other is there to pick them back up. And that kind of reminds me that we need a community. Coming from foster care, you learn independence, and a lot of times we learn it in harsh ways. We learn independence because we learn we're all that we have, or we learn that if I don't get up and advocate for myself or help myself, no one else is going to help me. But I think we also go through a period of learning how to lean on people, and we learn that it's safe to do so. And yeah, honestly, I've been a mentor, I've been mentored, I have people in my life who I love, who I know love me for free, and I wish that for everyone. I wish that on every.
I think I lost her for a few seconds. She should probably jump back on. Um, but definitely, we're in this space where it tends to we tend to have relationships, and we sometimes don't know it, but they tend to be transactional. And I think for like the first 3 years, like 18, 19, 20, I endured a lot of relationships, not consciously, but thinking that's how friendships work, thinking that's how family work. It was transactional, and I was supposed to pour, everything in to be able to get, somebody to hang out with, or someone to care for me, or have you. But as I grew and as I developed, in my experience, I've learned that we all are deserving of loving, nurturing relationships, and in those relationships it's just not one-sided, and that's one of the biggest beauties about finding genuine communities that care for you, especially as a person who's been through the system. Because once you're able to open yourself up in the process of your healing and to put your default, your survival brain, on break, to actually be in that functional place, you're able to see things from a different lens, and it almost feel as though when you're seeing things from that different lens, um that's like a brand new day. um because a lot of times throughout our time being in care and throughout the time leading up to submitting to wanting to recover, wanting to move forward, or past the abuse that you endure, um, you haven't seen a day outside of trying to make it, minute by minute, hour by hour. Um, and that's just my own thought. I know everyone else is different and unique, but for those who can relate to that, it tends to be like that. So, um, that's just, something that I was thinking about, and the aspect of community, because I think back in the day, and I've mentioned this before, I think back in the day where I would see people in my neighborhood, be down and out, and the community would come together to support them, whether it be putting together a box of canned goods, pantry items, whether it be babysitting and what have you. There was a community that rallied and knew. Now, I'm not gonna lie, there's still some other sides to it, the people who gossip, all this other stuff, but in the bigger end of things, they came together to support one another. Um, as I grew through the system and grew up, I don't see that a lot, and we can chalk that up to how society is today. Um, as far as it's not safe to let everybody watch your kids, let alone your neighbors, because you really don't know them. Kids not playing outside anymore, all these different things. But one of the biggest things that I feel is that we have became hardened as a society due to the overall abuse that we endured as society. And we've let that abuse that we have inflicted on ourselves, but also inflicted to others. And you can go into details about that, but we let that, make us to be a little bit more selfish and self-centered, which isn't all bad, but in the longer end of things, when we look at the generations and what they're taking from what we do, the outcome of it isn't too pretty. But I hope that as we're talking about these different experiences and all that is going on and what have you, that it resonates with you. I can't speak to it enough, other than the fact of just saying that my lived experience has helped me be who I am today, and I hope that when I'm speaking about my lived experience, and I have guests on here speaking about theirs, that it helps you guys critically think about, how you're moving, are you trauma informed? Are you being inclusive? What does your community look like? Um, and so forth. There's been so many different topics that I've mentioned on this podcast, and what have you. I just hope that when people are listening back, that and they're trying to figure out how this relates to them or what they can do with this knowledge, that they take it forward, they pay it forward. And that's the goal. That's the goal. But I'm waiting to see, because I know she had cut out. Um, uh, technology, guys, technology. Um, please charge my editing skills and not my heart when you guys listen to this episode, because fortunately, it will be probably a long pause and I sound like I'm probably rambling on, but I hope some of it makes sense as we're trying to figure out how to connect her back. But pros of being your own producer, publisher, what have you, you gotta learn how to do these things on the fly. So yeah. But in the meantime, while we try to see if she can connect back, I guess I will let you guys know. So this is episode 27 of season 2, with Jayonna Yahsha, a good friend of mine. Pleasure talking with her. Um, I'm looking to continue to um, walk the pavement and try to get as many episodes as I can before the end of December. I don't know what that specific number looks like. I'm kind of just getting people in um, with, the information that I have. So, more than likely, got some really big projects actually coming up with this podcast. I'm partnering with Knighted, the Children's Bureau, to put out an episode about Knighted in the program, with a couple Knighted reviewers and myself. So that's going to be cool and be doing that. Also, um, I'm going to be working on a collab um, with, and I want to make sure I get their full title together. um Diaries of a Black Girl in Foster Care podcast series. I'll be doing a little collab with them hopefully in the future, as we kind of narrow out a time to kind of get us all together. So be looking out for that. I'm hoping to, get out and do some community outreach. In the process of, figuring out my LLC. I have like the application, trying to get all that stuff in. Um, and to do get that together to be able to sustain myself, but also try to get some other things going, to be able to take this movement, this initiative of Resilient Voices and Beyond, and advocacy into the communities, into the streets, and try to push some of these new policies that need to be changed, some of these, new legislation that needs to be introduced, but more importantly, hear from the individuals in these communities and promote healing, you know, especially from stigmas that have broken down our generations over and over. I would love to be able to create a bridge of trust between um, state agencies and the communities that they serve, in hopes that state agencies would do their due diligence to maintain those relationships and not do the same that has been done in history by marginalizing and policing and discriminating these communities. But I believe it's time that we turn a new leaf and try to build relationships so that we can make it better as a whole. Um, uh, I think she's having some technical difficulties, so this has been Resilient Voices and Beyond, episode 27, season 2. This is gonna probably be a little bit shorter than others, but I hope that you guys were able to take something from this conversation, um, and go forth with that. I truly appreciate you guys listening, supporting, and being here throughout my journey. So thank you all. Um, First and foremost, we did talk about some things that could, be triggering potentially. So if something in here has been potentially triggering, before you do anything else, please, take some time to center yourself, do some mindfulness exercises, some self-care. If something is kind of bothering you and you would love some support and some resources, feel free to reach out to me and I would love to help you and connect you with the right people to start on that journey of recovery. you know um Also, it is cold and flu season. COVID's still out there. Please take care of yourself. Wear your mask. Get your hand sanitizer. Wash your hands. Be safe. We're all a part of this huge village. So it's on all of us to do our individual work so we all can be safe and okay. So please do so. Um, Outside of that, I gave you guys the scoop on the future and what it looks like going forward. I should have a couple of more episodes coming out, and that will be season 2. But thank you guys for all that you do. Um, Truly, truly can't express how grateful I am. Um, if you're out there, one other thing is, you know, please subscribe, subscribe to my social medias, my YouTube, if you listen to Spotify, please make sure that you like, rate, review. If you listen on Apple, please make sure that you like, rate, review, whatever you're listening on to my podcast, make sure that you like and rate and review. I do look at those things. I do like when people reach out to me and give me their input, so feel free if you would like to set up a meeting to kind of, talk to me about what you've gotten from this or anything that struck you. I would love to do so. It helps me be better and do better. Um, but outside of that, I am self-sustaining, so any way that you guys can support, if you can donate, if you're open to being a sponsor, please do. I'll be truly grateful. I'm hoping to grow this so I can do community activities and community events and what have you, and so forth. But without further ado, you guys have a good night, good morning, good whenever you listen to this. Thank you. Talk to you guys soon.